Was that music like a little fast?
A little bit. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Business Over Breakfast. My name is Ben Barber.
Lori Chitari.
And welcome, Lori. It's been a little bit. How are you doing?
Life is crazy, you know. I think this is the first time in my life that I thought, wow, this is life. This is really life. All the good and all the bad all rolled up into one gigantic experience. And I was honored to, with my siblings, usher my mom out of this earth.
Yeah.
And it was yeah. So I'm very happy to be home. I'm getting grounded again.
Well, I'm happy that you're home, and I obviously my condolences, which I've said off air, and it's there's a lot of good in that you were all there and had that time, and that you took that time and all of that. So there's a lot of beautifulness in the sadness, and that's life, right? That's what you
it's right. That's life. I keep thinking that phrase, and I have to look it up because everybody knows it. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And being, how often do 5 siblings come together to sit for days and days at a time to talk about life and kids and love and parenting? And, it was just, it was beautiful and very difficult. So
yeah,
and I'm happy to see you. And I thank you so much, because you're just like a light for me. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. And I'm glad you're back. Tell us a little bit before we get into the bulk of the show. Can you tell us a little bit about your trip home?
Oh, yes. Okay. So it was a big shift, right? That's the best of times, the worst of times. Scott had this dream to buy an Airstream for, I don't know how many, 10 years, 20 years. And then the base camp showed up, Airstream base camp. You got to check it out. It's the coolest thing ever. And he finally went on a search. Everybody's buying campers because of the pandemic. There's a huge wait time. And he found one in Tampa, Florida. So we expected that we would be staying in the base camp and staying in Florida for a while, and that didn't happen. And so the timing worked that he could come to Florida, pick me up. We did Harvest Hosts, which, if you've never heard of Harvest Hosts, it's such a great app where campers can stay at a winery, a distillery, a golf course, a farm for one night for free with their Harvest Host membership. So we just did that along the way. And then we stopped and saw some old friends, and we spent last week just heading home, processing, heading home, moving into a little baby Airstream. And he's living in it now. No, I'm kidding. He won't leave it.
Oh, I thought 1 week on the road you kicked him out. And
oh no. No, he just keeps wanting to go back into the Airstream. So anyway, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And it's sitting right next to me in the driveway.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So we're home now.
He sent me a couple photos from the road, which were very nice of you guys. So
one of the things I'll say, like, as we shift into business talk, is Harvest Hosts, because of what they've done for these unique kind of off the road vineyards and farms, is they've estimated that they've been able to increase the income for these very small, often family-run businesses by like $50,000 for the businesses. So it's, you wouldn't ordinarily go 20 miles off 95 to find a cool distillery to stay at, you know, but then you get to the distillery, you do a tasting, you buy a few bottles of vodka. I bought a t-shirt, you know, and I think that if they're doing this every night, getting hundreds and hundreds of dollars from people that are stopping into this very cool place, it's such a cool concept. And it's part of what you and I believe in and what we do. And, you know, just being able to say, like, there's enough for everyone. And if there are cool ways to bring that money into the small businesses, then we're in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of money.
Yes.
Let's, so if anybody has any questions, about marketing or really anything, I mean, Lori's also a master life coach. So, you know, any questions that you have about anything, we're happy to try to answer them.
Yeah. And
but
if you don't have an answer, we'll just make shit up and it's going to be fine.
It's what I do. But let's talk a little bit about, pricing, right? So one thing that I don't know if it was on this show, because I don't really remember the last time we did this show, but we were talking about it. I said this on some show that I was on, and it makes sense that it was this one, but I'm not sure about people going back to work, right? And obviously there's a staffing issue right now with many businesses. And I believe that anecdotally, because I know many, many people who have done this, that a much larger portion than people realize of service industry workers, restaurant workers, etc., hospitality workers, have moved over the last year into other areas of business, right? Other areas in the workforce. A lot of them took the leap and became entrepreneurs. A lot of them work from home now. A lot of them, but so many people, you know, started their own Etsy shop or became a consultant about this other thing that they wanted to do, or they, you know, they went on their own. I know personally like 20 people that started businesses during the pandemic.
I know, and I'm thinking the same thing. I can think of all these people, and it's not that they just moved to working at home. I mean, many of them got laid off.
They got laid off. No. That's what I'm saying. They got laid off. They took the time that they had at home, and their values, you know, they were like, well, I can check in with myself now. I have them. This is what we were talking about a year ago, right? The whole world paused and everybody had a chance to check in with themselves. And a lot of people checked in with themselves and went, I want to do this with my life. I want to focus on happiness. I want to focus on not being away every night and spending more time with my kids, et cetera, et cetera. And they found ways to do it, right? Whether that was taking a job doing data entry from home, or starting an Etsy shop, or starting an online yoga business when they used to just teach for fun at the Y every couple of weeks. You know, a lot of people have done a lot of different and interesting things. And because of that, the growing rate of entrepreneurs and freelance workers is growing exponentially all the time, and has been for years. Right. It's now.
We are in like a major shift in the way we work. I mean, plain and simple. And the federal government has been able to infuse huge amounts of money during this crisis period to allow for that to happen. And so not only were people thinking like, oh, I can do something different, I can work in whatever way I want to work, you were actually getting supported for that. And so you needed a computer, you needed all this stuff to be able to do that. Now you had it. You know, we were giving free internet in Rhode Island.
Right. And because of the internet, so many people have now been able to move into spaces that, just because the possibility has been here for 15 to 20 years to do the things that you love on the internet, it still takes a long time for society as a whole to change. And now, I mean, with the increasing use of the internet and people getting younger and younger and younger,
Mhm.
coming into the
I
workforce.
am. Oh,
I mean, you literally are though, right? No, but for real though, your internet habits right now
yeah.
for someone of your age, which I assume is young 30, early 30s,
Mm,
um,
I'm there.
uh, is vastly different than someone of your age a generation ago
Yeah.
or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so that becomes a larger a larger
Yeah.
possibility for you. And so that everyone is moving towards the gig economy, right? It became
Yeah.
like a buzzword in the 90s and early 2000s, and
Right.
now it's
Yeah.
like life for like
Well, and
a large amount of people.
when I coach, so I mean, I do coaching kind of, that's my side hustle, but it's, I love it. And it's pretty easy for me. I've been doing it for a long time. But one of the things that I've been saying, and it's kind of strange, like in the last 6 months, mostly to young men, is this idea that yeah, are you a young man?
I am a young, well, I'm not that young anymore.
Oh God.
I'm
I'm not
not
even going to listen to that. But all right, how old are you?
33.
33, same as me.
Yes, there
We're
we
the
go.
same. So anyway, yeah, you're right in there. Is this idea that it's not about like getting a job and going to work every day. It's about how do you use the money? Where's the money coming from to support the lifestyle that you want? So it can come from all sorts of different places. And some people are like, I'm going to buy a 2-family house and create income from that, but I'm also going to do this other thing at home. Or I'm going to do my design work, but I also create stuff on the Etsy market. So they are creating these different ways of supporting a lifestyle, as opposed to the whole life becomes like, I work and then I have my life. I work and then I have my life. Like there's an integration there. And I think that it's increasingly exponentially becoming about digital channels. I mean, that's allowing it. That's kind of giving a gateway to this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are people that have become, there are individuals, right? So there's two forms of these digital channels, right? There's individuals who have become wildly famous and wildly successful because they are influencers on those channels, right? Like
Yeah.
you look
Like
at TikTok.
famous.
Yeah, like you look at like TikTok and you have like Charlie D'Amelio, and like she's got so many opportunities and wealthy and building wealth and
Mm-hmm.
all of this stuff because of becoming famous on a new platform.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people that do that, but there's a lot of businesses that are doing the same exact thing with that attention, and you might not know who they are, but they are spending their ad money in these places that have underpriced attention, and then they're eating all of that up and growing ridiculously and
Yeah.
ridiculously fast. Like I think Wayfair, I
Yeah.
believe, was like the number one spender, or spent like 99% of their advertising budget, their marketing budget,
Mm-hmm.
on Facebook,
Wow.
and completely grew from Facebook, and now everyone
Wow.
knows what it is because everyone has had that ad in there, and people are doing that with TikTok now, and there's so many digital channels. So
Yeah.
if
Wow.
you're a person, you can learn how to use these to your advantage. And I think that that's
Right.
what everyone,
Right.
that's where everyone goes, right? They hear like
Yeah.
TikTok and Instagram and they're like, well, I'm not a model and I don't
Yeah.
dance, so that's not for me.
Yeah.
But it's
And
like,
they don't
what do you do?
dance.
But what do you do? Maybe you own a bakery.
Right.
Maybe you own a bakery and you design cakes really cool. like take your
No,
phone and
yeah.
do this while you
Oh,
do a cake and then
yeah.
speed it up and put driver's license under it for some reason. And like you could,
Yeah.
and
Well,
you should be more contextual than that,
it's
but
funny.
it's
So one day driving home last week, Scott and I were talking about this phone thing. Oh, and I got my vaccine too. This phone thing, like we still call it a phone, but it's pretty much everything we do. And I said, I wonder if like there will eventually be a new word for this thing that we carry around that takes our photos, that sends messages, that keeps us on track in our calendar. Like this is just a thing that allows us to connect to every other thing. I mean, it's strange, but it's strange for me. I mean, think I grew up, I got through college without a computer. So there, at 33 years old. But
I last night was on this couch behind me at some point and watching a TV show, and there is a 50-inch TV to my right, and I was watching it on this. And in the middle of it, I thought, what are you doing? And then I thought,
good mindfulness practice.
but then I thought, I'm doing what I prefer.
Mm.
I preferred looking at it on this. Why? I don't know. I'm not judging that as good or bad, but this is my device, right?
Yeah.
So like I have my computers and I use them for work and I use them for editing and I use them for all of this and whatever. But if I have a question, I grab my phone. If I, you know what I mean? So like it just is what it is.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
whether it's the way that it should be.
Yeah.
Right? Like should I look at the TV room or
should. No.
right.
Should. Just
Who
get
cares
it out of your vocabulary. Absolutely. There's the lesson of the day. Take should out. I should go to work. I should get a job. I should work 9 to 5. I should be looking at the TV instead of my phone. Like should is just
people should know about my brick and mortar business from being in the center of town.
Maybe.
Not if when they're walking down the center of town, they're looking at their phone.
Yes. Yeah. No, you're right. And so I was reading yesterday, in my corporate life, I did analyst relations work. And so I was always studying the market using mostly technology analysts. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Gartner Research. Their headquarters is in Stamford, Connecticut, but it's the biggest technology research firm in the world and quite well respected. So I was reading this thing. Gartner had done this big survey around businesses, and it was businesses expect to invest 0 to 20% more in digital stuff. And they also expected to have 0 to 20% less revenue in the next 6 months. And so I'm looking at those two things and I'm thinking, oh my God, okay, so the businesses, that brick and mortar is thinking, I'm still 20% down. That's a little, all right, that's intense for a business, but I still need to invest in technology. So I'm going to take some of what I'm actually revenue coming in and investing it into another channel for digital access, which I think is huge. And I think it definitely lends itself, of course, to Shop Local Rhode Island, because I think that those things that we've learned over the last year, that digital competency, I guess, that we've all been like forced to understand, is now something that, it's like any education. Once you learn it, once you know it, you can't just unknow it. People realize that like Instacart just brings groceries to your door. Like what's better than that? Right. So, or DoorDash or Amazon. But yeah, I think that we're just going to watch this amazing shift. But we started talking about pricing actually. Um,
Yes.
but I
Well,
think,
I just want to say something real quick before we get back into pricing. I'm so sorry about the point that you just made about Shop Local Rhode Island.
yeah,
If you're a local brick and mortar store, whatever it is, what law office, whatever,
right.
you know, and you don't want to, e-commerce is complicated. It's, it can be simple, but it's fairly complicated. Having that marketplace is time consuming and maybe not something that you want to do for your business or whatever, which is why you see a lot of restaurants using, like, saying, hey, we do Uber Eats now,
Mhm.
or whatever it may be, Grubhub, like,
Yeah,
hey, we're in it. That's it's not great for us, but that's what we're gonna do
right.
because that's what we're gonna
Yeah,
do, and it's what you're comfortable with, and it's easier for us to do that, and we're going to see more return on that than figuring it all out for ourselves in this
yeah.
way. And
Not to
um
mention, sorry, not to mention that they're taking over 20%. 20% is like the number today. Over 20% of the spend from your customer for your
right,
stuff.
right. So they're doing that stuff at a detriment. You know what I mean? It's a
Right.
detriment to a but but you go into the local sandwich shop and they have like the Grubhub and Uber Eats logo on their wall, on
Mhm.
their window, because they want you to know your
Now
convenience
they
is
need
important
this
to us.
one.
So my point is if you are a local store, um and you hear us talking at nauseum about your online presence, um you can use those social channels and not create your own e-commerce site yet, right? Or whatever it is that you want to, like, use the trusted name of a Shop Local Rhode Island.
Mhm.
Use the platform that's already there the same way that you would use Grubhub or Uber Eats, or sell your stuff on Amazon, but it's still coming from you. Use you can use Shop Local for that. And then you can direct using your social channels, using the easier thing to do, the freer thing to do, right? E-commerce costs money to set up your own site and to
Mhm.
learn all of that. You can do all of that. You can just point people on your social media to Shop Local Rhode Island, to your store on Shop Local Rhode Island, and all of that's done for you.
Yeah.
And then you can get all of the benefits of having your own e-commerce site and
Yeah.
having it be personalized by sending people to your direct part of the Shop or Local Rhode
Right,
Island
right.
platform, which I think
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I'm really loving about the development of this project is that we can offer that freemium piece, where we have this directory right now, shoplocalrhodeisland.com, which has 2,000 businesses, 2,000 plus businesses are on this site right now. And all of those businesses are moving into Shop Local Rhode Island, which is just transferring right now, marketplace. And within that marketplace, every single one of those 2,000 businesses, because of the sponsorship that we receive from Rhode Island Commerce, has the ability to put up to 5 products on their page for sale for free. I mean, and that's pretty cool. Like if you think about the work that you do, for example, as an executive producer, you could put like the top 5 things that you do as a service for sale. And anybody in Rhode Island could say, I need to do a show like this. I want to talk online. I want to interview people. I want to have a host for a big event in Rhode Island. And they can find you and they can purchase that from you, and you will get that information, and you'll start. I mean, the goal, obviously, and I get all hyped up about it, but the goal is bringing in revenue from places that are only 30 miles away that just didn't hear about you. But the
Right.
fact is, we're a marketing organization, and we're going to market the hell out of this site, and like pull people in to look at what you're doing. So that's our goal. But I think the thing is, we all need to do what we're really good at, and what we're good at is marketing.
Every so I think that every business in Rhode Island would benefit from being on there tenfold. But I think that because so much of what we've been talking about today has been freelancers
Mhm.
and solo entrepreneurs, that if that is something that you do, right? If you are a freelancer, if you're a photographer, if you're a videographer, if you're a therapist, if you're a life coach, if you're a yoga teacher, if you're a personal trainer, if you're etc.,
Mhm.
you should go on to Shop Local Rhode
Right.
Island, join the marketplace. There's a really good chance that you don't even have more than 5 options.
Right.
So it's free for you,
Yeah.
and it's one more place to have someone else do the work for you,
Yeah.
and that's a nice thing to do.
Well,
So, yeah, go ahead.
no, I'm just thinking that for a business that is a brick and mortar and they don't have any online presence, I mean, this is such a simple way to get online and know that, like, we have a team, we have a small team, but we have a team that can help you get your shop set up. And it doesn't launch until June 7th. So if you go to shoplocalrhodeisland.com right now, you only see the directory. We're doing all the back end work, and it will be live, cross my fingers, on June 7th.
And if you're a restaurant or something, right? Like if you're at Pete's Grocery in Hopkinton, Rhode Island, um, you could put gift certificates on there.
Yeah.
And, like maybe you're not selling your sandwiches to everybody, but you could put that on there and send that. So, I mean, I think that's
Yeah. Well,
it's the possibilities are endless.
I don't know if you've heard Rhode Island Governor McKee mention
Who is he?
creating. Who's he? Oh, you don't know that guy?
I don't know him.
Oh, he's the governor of Rhode Island.
Is he nice?
He's pretty nice. Yeah. Oh no, I'm thinking he has great hair, I must say. I hear that a lot from friends. This is the older crowd. But
All right.
Anyway, he's great. And he has obviously supported shoplocalrhodeisland.com for over a year now. And anyway, we are thinking about this idea of having gift cards for everyone in Rhode Island, and that's our phase 2. So people, if they set up gift certificates and they can go onto the site and buy a gift card, then you could go to a restaurant and say, you know what? Well, Zuma is one of my favorite restaurants on Federal Hill. If they have gift certificates and I have a gift card for $50, I'd spend it there.
Right.
So it is a really, like, it just allows
like a statewide
platform.
chamber of commerce.
Yeah.
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 That's awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of Governor McKee, I have a tie on my desk at all times just in case they I got some slack for not dressing up enough. It wasn't real, it wasn't genuine.
I thought you bought all those cool new shirts, and I especially like that salmon colored one that you wear.
Oh, thank you. I put on a dress shirt with no tie for the first new community conversations, and backstage he was like, you tried. I'm like, I know, I couldn't go with just the black t-shirt for this when everybody else was like
so funny.
Harvard economists and the entire General
Right.
Assembly and whatever.
Right.
Anyway,
but here's the thing: like when you say that, these strategic partnerships that we have been engrossed in over the year, they're so super important to us and our state. And for example, this Thursday, I'm going to go to District Hall in person to the Venture Cafe downtown and talk about this idea about what is the future of retail and how is our work world shifting. So it's really, so you need those kind of partnerships. And I think Liz Tanner is going to be there too. So I'll meet her in person for the first time. Yeah.
I love Liz.
Yeah.
All right, let's very quickly end the show, talk about what we said we were going to talk about for
Oh, wow.
30
Okay.
minutes.
Yeah.
So all of these people moving into the freelance space, it can be very intimidating. And I know I talked to a friend about this last night about their own issues with this is pricing yourself appropriately, right? And I don't think that I think it's very rare that someone who's coming into being a freelancer or coming into being a solo entrepreneur prices themselves more than they need to. It's almost always undercutting yourself.
Yeah.
How do you figure out how to price yourself appropriately? And this is a question that I have zero answer for because I am atrocious. I am atrocious at pricing myself.
All right. So here's, all right. This should be a separate cut on a video, but here's the thing. First of all, people pay you for what you and anyone, people pay for the value that you bring to them, right? So I could say like, hey, I can figure this producer thing out, hire me. But no, people don't want to pay for that because they're not going to pay for my education. So first of all, they're paying for experience, paying for what you know, paying for what you're going to deliver to them without them really needing to be involved. So you always want to think about, well, let me shift it up. In communications, we always say, don't just throw the communications out there. You have to figure out what's the audience? What does your audience want to hear? So even in pricing, it's what is your audience looking for? What is that person valuing? So if like Blue Cross Blue Shield, what is their value for something? They may pay $10,000 for something that's exactly the same, but this other mom and pop shop can only pay, $5,000, but the value is there for them. Do you understand? So like, for example, if I value like amazing cappuccino, which I do, I'm not going to buy like a Mr. Coffee. I'm going to buy like the real cappuccino maker. And I'm going to place value on that. And so I'm going to spend the money. So you always want to think about that because people are paying for what you're bringing to them, what you're delivering for them. And so, for example, in your world, I'm guessing that there aren't a lot of people that can compete directly with the level of work that you do in Rhode Island. And so for people to hire you, the value is high. And then you have to say, okay, this is the high value that I deliver, but now what is that audience available to pay? It's almost like working in percentages as opposed to like numbers,
Yeah.
And I think that I always like to give clients a little bit of a range if I don't know what their budget is, just because I'm willing to work with what their value is for something. So if a client is willing to pay $250 an hour and they can pay it and it's no issue, great. That doesn't mean that the value is higher for the person that can only pay $50 an hour. Then as the person doing the work, you have to decide who are the people I want to work with. For
Right.
me, I always go with people over anything. So, and most don't always have that option, but I say that to my kids all the time. You choose people over profits.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that help?
It does help. It does help. I have had at least 6 clients say to me like they ask for a proposal and then they have said to me we're not paying you that. We're paying you more than that. That's ridiculous. And then
But that's telling you something, right? About your own
for sure. I had
value.
So I have a friend who is a business coach, and the two of us are going to she's starting a podcast, and I'm gonna do a little bit of coaching for with her for that. And but before we decided on that, she was like, "Can you just send me what your normal stuff is? And like, if you're not interested in coaching, I'll just pay for the podcast or whatever." And I was like, "Okay." And I sent her my pricing structure for a very similar podcast for a therapist that I just started. And and she was very nice. And then when we got on a phone call to talk about like the other project, after like an hour of the phone call, she was like, "Can I just tell you that, I mean, I know you and I know everything, but when I got the proposal, I looked at the price and I looked at it and I went, this is so low that I question his skills."
Oh, yeah. That's important, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I never really thought about,
Yeah. Yep.
but yeah,
That's hugely important because you're right. You're thinking you're trying to help. You're trying to like do the right thing for somebody else. But you're right. I mean, are you going to buy an iPhone if like, oh, just oh, those are my kids. They're so cute.
I
Are you going to buy an iPhone if someone goes, oh, hey, I'll sell it to you for $10? You're thinking like there's something wrong with that,
right.
right?
Yeah,
Because you know that there's a lot of stuff there.
my friend who owns a mobile DJ business and was a wedding DJ for a really long time, still is one of the many things that he does. He like 8 years ago was talking to me about weddings, because I have another friend who's in a band that does weddings, and the band made like 3 times less than the DJ for these weddings. And he was like, it's funny, when I was at a certain level, I got a certain amount of clients. And as soon as I increased, nothing changed.
Right.
I was over delivering at, $2,000 a wedding.
Yep.
And when I raised it to $4,000 a wedding, I got 3 times as many clients.
Yeah.
And I didn't change anything.
Yeah. It's strange. Yeah. It's there's a word for that. I don't know if I'm going to say it right. So it's around like this idea of psychic debt. So you create this idea that you create a value around something based on that number. And so what we have experienced is the clients that we give the super discounts to are the clients that don't value the work that we do, and they become very difficult. And they're not our clients anymore.
Yeah.
It's just plain and simple. And we laugh because we're always like, don't do that again. We've done it 3 times and we're not doing it again. And like our whole team will be like, no, we're not. Because it's like you're spending all your time and energy to make this person or this entity happy for the least amount of money. And so you're trying to make them happy because they don't value the work. So that's people over profits, right? You want to choose the people that value your work. And the work value, you're right, you're doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing because you're doing your job well. So get paid for it. Yeah. All right, everybody, watch out. Ben Barber's going to increase his pricing. Hire him now. Oh, God.
Oh, I have too much of I want to help everyone in the world.
I know. I do too.
So,
but you got to be paid for it.
Yeah. All right. Well, am I frozen?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Lori, end the show.
Oh, okay. End the show. All right. So pricing, the market's changing. The people are changing. The whole world is changing. So get ready. We're going to have some fun now. Have a great day.